everyone, it's Nancy here, and I just finished a sketchbook, and this is more or less a watercolor journal, and I have some writing in here, but it's mostly watercolor or drawings. And this is a Fabriano, oh let's see, it starts with a V, Venice something. Anyway, it's Fabriano, and you can get it in a couple of different sizes. This is about a 6 by 8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 6 by 9, actually. And it has nice, thick watercolor type paper in it. I'm not sure what the weight of it is. At least I didn't keep my little cover that went around it. But I believe I got it at Cheap Joe's, and they have a couple of different sizes. I think a smaller one and then a larger one, or this may be the largest. But it's cheapjoes.com. And they're fairly inexpensive for watercolor paper. I mean, if you want to keep your journals for a long, long time, or pass them down to your relatives and children, you might think of, and you like to do watercolors, you probably should do a watercolor type paper instead of a just drawing paper. But if all you do is draw in your journals or do colored pencil or whatever, you can get by without doing watercolor paper. So whenever you do and I wish I would have done that with this paper, but test out my pens, my watercolor, you know, see how it saturates and everything, because I'm more used to working on real, you know, watercolor paper or watercolor. Every paper is different, and so you have to know the, you know, how it reacts to the watercolors. And so this is different than my Moleskin watercolor journal, and that's more of what I'm used to working in. So I had to get used to it. And so what a lot of people do is they go on the last couple of pages, and then they do like testing with watercolor washes and everything in their pens. And so I'm going to do that the next time. I think the next time I'm going to do a Stillman and Byrne book. I've got a couple of those on cue, ready to go, and so that's what I'm going to use next time, just, you know, to change up. So this book took me a while. It starts out, I had given a partial of a flip with this one before, but I thought that maybe you'd like to see it in its entirety. Watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade is a tradition of mine while I'm burning my food. And so my granddaughter loves Hello Kitty, so that's what I did, and this was the first page in it. I was trying to get used to the washes and everything. I used primarily pan watercolors, so they're hard, and I wish I would have tried, you know, soft watercolors right out of the tube with this, just to see how it worked, but live and learn. Then I had gotten for Christmas some twinkling H2Os, so I'm not sure if you can see the shimmer, but it's very pretty. I make watercolor cards for Christmas, and I'm thinking about using, you know, for special people, I'm thinking about doing actual, you know, watercolor paintings and sending them to the people instead of doing one watercolor painting and then making copies, so then they can see the shimmer. So that was fun. And then I wanted to try out my Tombow Markers, and even though Tombow Markers spread really nice on some watercolor papers, like hot press is very good for I mean, the Tombow Markers, you can get watercolor effects no problem. This paper, however, it soaks right in, and you can't get any kind of washes out of it. I tried down here, and I tried on my face, and it wasn't happening. So that was a lesson learned. Then I talked about my Christmas and what I did for Christmas that year. Every year I buy my grandchildren their own ornaments, and most of the time they're pretty similar. I've got 2 boys and a girl, so the girl always gets something girly, but I buy them their own ornaments, and then when they're 18, then they have 18 ornaments that they can use, for their own tree, or whenever they get their own tree. And Bob bought me a really cool mannequin, so I had to paint that. Bob was my husband. A big, huge pileated woodpecker came and visited us right after Christmas that year. This was in 2013. It took me a while to finish this book. And so I had to paint him. So I really enjoy that I get to live someplace that I see so much wildlife. Here's our Happy New Year. I did this in Copic markers, and that really was cool. I enjoyed the effect of that. These little dots for the bubbles in the champagne, I did with the alcohol marker. Like it's called a blender, I think, in the Copic markers, and it really turned out nice, I think. And then, since this is watercolor paper and markers go through, practically all kind of paper, the back side really looks cool too. It shows the little bubbles, and there's the ghost image, so I thought that was cool. We have this real huge evergreen tree outside of my living room window, and I've watched it grow over the past 15 years, and it's housed so many animals. I get to see a lot of different animals, and I saw this grouse, and he was all fluffed out because it was pretty cold. It was like 10 degrees for the high and -9 for the low. So he was underneath the branches and stuff. I did this with my Caran d'Ache Pablo colored pencils. It was alright, but I didn't really care for that on this paper. So I got some hydrangeas from a friend, and so with all my flowers, I love to paint them. And I'm sorry about this doggone shadow. Maybe if I move this back. Okay, maybe that'll work better. Alright, so it works fine. This paper works fine for regular watercolors. And I drew this little, we feed the birds, and when you put out food, other animals come too, and so we get a lot of bunnies, and which I like to see. And I did this with my Generals Sketch and Wash, which is a watercolor graphite pencil, and it works really nice. I like using that, especially when I'm out in the field too. You can get really nice effects with that. I started sketchbook school this day. This was all the way down to July of 14, and so I did their little banner and stuff, what they have on their website. I was excited about that. Then on July 4th, we have a bluebird house right outside our window, and the mother and dad were trying to coax the little baby to come out and fledge, and he wasn't having it, but we ended up, I didn't get a chance to see it this year, but because we went to Green Bay, but he was gone. The babies were gone by the time we got back, so it was a bummer. But we've seen a lot of fledged birds over the years, which is cool. When my husband got to be a quadriplegic, me and his nurse went and put a pole out there, and we hung bird feeders so that he could watch it from his bed, because it took Medicare 18 months to get him a wheelchair. So he was in his bed for 18 months. So I wanted to put enough stuff out so he could at least see the wildlife and everything outside. And so this has been, this little house has housed many, many bird families throughout the years. It was one of my assignments for my seeing at Sketchbook school is to draw my breakfast, and this is one of my favorite breakfasts, and cinnamon bagels with Yoplait yogurt. And I used a micron pen, 2 different kinds, 0.1 and 0.8, so that was fun. And then here's another assignment called Slow and Fast. I drew my Midori's Traveler's Notebook. And well, actually, I guess you work backwards. You put the paint down where you think it should be, and then you draw the object, and with the pen. And sometimes the detail work is a little bit different than what you actually had put down. So, but it kind of creates a nice effect. So I really enjoyed that. A lot of fun. We had a portrait type of thing, so that really doesn't look like me, nor does it look like my grandchildren, except for Kiana's hair had all those really pretty little beads in it. So I am not that good with people yet. I'm better now. This was in 2014. So here's Kiana. Her mother was taking down her hair and she was not happy about it, so she was pouting, and I sat there and drew her, and that was from life. And then here's a picture of me that I drew, that Bob took a picture of me before my Barry Manilow concert, so I was quite happy. And so that was my Barry face. We went and I did a 2-page spread. Having a bound book like this is nice, where you can do a whole spread and of a local park that's on Lake Michigan. And then sometimes I like to sketch in these, and so I sketched the seagulls that thought we had food, and that's a really nice way to get animals to come close to you, is if you have food for them. And chipmunks especially, go and take some sunflower seeds and throw them right down by your feet, and enough of them, and the chipmunks will come right up to you and sit there and eat and stuff their little faces, and you could sit there and draw them and with no problem at all. My future daughter-in-law, she is my daughter-in-law now, but she brought a whole bunch of, she's a vegetarian, she brought a whole bunch of vegetables and made me wonderful food every single day. And this is also the anniversary of Vincent van Gogh's death, and I always like to paint on that day. Another one of my friends brought me over some canned cherries that she did, and they were delicious. And I drew my herbs before I went and killed them. Doesn't take much for me. Here's a little wildflower study. These flowers grew out of right outside of Bob's office, and I went out there and I really didn't do a very good job of it, and I was pretty upset because it was just, I hadn't, let's see, I haven't been doing a whole lot of art, and I was pretty rusty with the plein air thing, so I ended up scrubbing it, and so then it created this yellow and green, all fuzzy in the background. And then I thought, well, I don't want to just leave this page like that. It was a disaster. So the next day I went out there and I said, I'm going to do it, and I kind of fixed it up so it looked all right to me, at least. And I drew it with my micron pens, the little wildflowers, and then I went out in front of my house and did my hydrangeas, and so I thought that turned out well. Here's some more of those same flowers. I wanted to try it again in different different fashion. And Sunday morning, I love to sit outside. I don't do it enough, and sketch while I'm having my coffee. And this particular day, there was a horse there waiting to be saddled so that the family members could go out and ride it. And the family I work for, that's who that belongs to that. And Bob had a meeting in Mountain, and I drop him off, and then I go find someplace to sketch. And the sunset was so pretty, I just sat there and sketched it. And it makes you feel better when you can be in nature. At least it does for me. Whenever I've had a hectic day, if I can go outside and have some peace and quiet, sketch, do a little painting, that's just, it just takes my stress level down. We went up to the Upper Peninsula, or the UP State Fair. They have their own state fair up there, and it's really a nice place. So I wanted to do my own little sketch crawl, and by myself, and so me and Bob went up there and looked for something to sketch. And I went into the sheep and goat building because there was like a bull in the cattle building. I first wanted to do some Jersey cows, the little soft brown ones, and there was a bull there, and he got away from his caregivers, and he went and pushed down a couple of fences or little gates, and knocked into another cow, and knocked over these guys who were like, really strong and big, and I got the heck out of there. I went in someplace that I don't think that the goats were going to trample me. Then we went to the Miracle of Life building, and that is just the best place, I tell you, for going and sketching. You see the farmers bring babies, or mothers that are almost ready to give birth, and a lot of them give birth there at the fair, and you get a chance to sketch the little babies. And we actually did see a cow being born, so I did plenty of sketches that day. And then after that, the cow being born took a couple of hours, so after that we went and we ate all sorts of bad food. So funnel cakes, Bob had a Polish sausage, I had Indian tacos. So here's Labor Day from last year, and I didn't know what to write on here, so I did this little guy from memory, and he is, or was, this was the last time I saw him. He would go and pick up the garbage that the tourists throw out on the ground, and he also picked up all the cans, and he probably goes and sells the cans. But he would walk for miles, and you'd see him every single time we were out. Every time in the morning, he'd be walking around doing his rounds, picking up garbage. Every weekend there's garbage on the ground. It's pitiful. Another breakfast study. Same type of breakfast. Then here's another assignment from which I didn't do too well. I'm not too good with circles or ellipses, so I gave it a shot. Then, when we went out painting in the state park, and it was the first day of autumn, and the trees had already started to go. We hit peak about the fourth week of September up here. So they've already started to turn, and it was just so beautiful. I had gotten a new watercolor palette, and I did not make a color chart. I just started using it right away. I ended up losing what the names of the colors were, so I went online and I looked what they were, and then I started making little color charts, and I was surprised to know that the reddish color was not burnt sienna like I thought it was. It's called English Venetian red. So that was a surprise to me. But I like this watercolor palette. My birthday, and my Bobby got me delicious chocolate covered cherries and chocolate covered strawberries, and these strawberries were like huge. They were so big. They were like, this was like life size. And this happy birthday to the love of my life and my spirit building muse, love, Bob. So that was my last present from him. Last birthday present. My friend Nancy was here, and she left me with all sorts of produce, so before I cut them up and eat them, I paint them. We went down to Bay Beach Wildlife Reserve, and there was a twig. They had just had a storm, so there was some twigs on the ground, and I picked one up for a study to see what they were, and Bob knows about all the trees and stuff, so he told me it was a cottonwood tree. And this was the last plein air that I did with him, and that was from 10/18. It was right after my violin lesson, and he said, let's go to this one little park and see what it looks like, and so we did, right north of Wasaki. And I painted the ducks and tried to paint the reflections in the water. Here's my little evergreen tree, and I saw a cardinal in it that morning. And so it's just so wonderful to see so many animals take shelter in that evergreen tree. Here's 11/29. We're already full of snow. The lake is all frozen over, and this was through my bedroom window, right in front of me, right here. And at about 10 a.m. it was foggy. Here's all my wonderful Christmas presents. Bob spoils me terribly. I got pens. I got a little portable printer. Beautiful rose gold Twisby mini Lammy Joy to draw with, and some watercolor pencils and some more strawberries he bought because the kids wanted to try them, so he bought some for them too. Then they always have all these little gifts and stuff out for Christmas, and they had a cheap little thing to put all your remotes in, and I'm like, oh, art supplies. So then I filled it up, and then I had to paint it. And this was just a picture of a little view outside my sister's hotel room when they went to Ireland. I was looking for some colorful things to paint in the middle of winter. And this was our Valentine's Day. Bob was not feeling well, so we didn't do anything, and I made him a card and some shortbread heart cookies, and didn't do very much special things, and now I know why he wasn't feeling well. Because my next picture, these are some of his flowers that came to me for his funeral, and I tried to paint them all, but I didn't do, they didn't last as long as for how many flowers I got. I got so many beautiful flowers, but I did take pictures of them, and I want to do some really nice paintings of them at one point. Then this was spring and starting, and I had to go out and to the doctor's, and I was sitting in a parking lot having some coffee, and I noticed the sunlight shining through, and trying to get my mojo back for drawing. And after Bob's passing, it's been very hard. I was his caregiver, so I did a lot of things for him, and You know, it's just the silliest things that you miss. Doing the little, shaving him, cutting his hair, and it's just stuff that you'll remember always that you did, and they were done with love. I joined a plein air group, and we went to the zoo, and they were all working in oils, and I wasn't. I haven't done oils for a while, a couple of years, so I'm just trying to get my art spirit back and get back out there and start meeting people and things and doing things. So I just brought this booklet, and I bought my little moleskin watercolor journal, and I had a great time just sketching the animals. I just had a wonderful time with that. Here's some more. This was the little otter pool, and they would go running up and jump down and having a good time. When you're sketching animals, a lot of times, I got to the zoo quite early, so they weren't. They liked to beg for food, and when they figured out that I wasn't giving them any food, they kind of settled down. And this guy was a little kid was feeding him, so he was trying to beg. But if you just sit there long enough, they usually go back into their same poses, or you just try to get a real general sketch, like a triangle for the face. Sketch as fast as you can. With this one, I knew that the birds weren't going to stay there, so I quickly figured out where I wanted them to be in my picture, and I quickly sketched them, and then they were gone, and then I did the rest. So it's easier that way. This little guy was eating some lettuce, and he was just laying down eating. He was just having, and then he went and splashed around the pool. So if they are, eating or sleeping, that's a good time to sketch them as well. This peacock was sleeping underneath underneath the tree. Then I went down to our lake, not my lake, not our lake, the place I live at, lake. This is a private, owned private ranch, and so there's not too many people around. Excuse me. And this is the first time I went down there without Bob, and it was kind of, I have to face things doing them. And I said, nothing will ever be the same again, and I know that it won't. I scattered his ashes down at the Summerfest lighthouse, and that's where he loved to go and fish. So I scattered his ashes, and I put some of that iridescent paint on where the ashes trailed out. And it was on his birthday, May 16th. I also bought some Rainier cherries, and I love them, and I love to paint them. They're just so beautiful. They have the yellow and orangish and the deep red, and then I had some fuchsias, and I think the squirrels went and chomped them off, so there was a whole bunch of buds, flower heads laying on the ground. So I picked one up, and I drew that. Here's a plein air scene on kind of a blustery, windy day, Lake Michigan. And here's our golf course with the, not our golf course, where I live's golf course, with the horses up in the pasture. It was a beautiful day. And I had went on Memorial Day, and I planted, and there was one of my hanging planters, which has done pretty good. I haven't killed it yet. Went to Peshtigo, and I saw a grandfather and his granddaughter fishing, and I'm assuming it was her grandfather because he was so much older. Could have been a father, but I thought about Bob teaching my grandsons how to fish. So they sat there for a long time, so I sat there and sketched them. There was one day I was just sick and tired of hearing myself talk, so I went outside. I said, the heck with it. I grabbed my sketchbook and my paints, and I went outside and sketched the sunset and listened to the frogs sing. And that's so beautiful in the spring, in the early spring, to listen to the frogs sing. Went out and painted, and I got a chance to save a little doe, and he was probably only hours old, and he or she, or a fawn. Fawn. The doe, his mother, had ran across the road, and he or she didn't see her, know anything. So I stopped, and this was like on a highway. So I stopped and put on my blinkers, and I was trying to shoo the baby, and then it kept on coming toward me, and then here comes a big, huge, four-wheeler truck barreling down the road, and I waved him down to stop, and then the mother finally ran back across the road and snorted so that her baby followed her. So my grandkids were thinking that was really cool. They were so happy I saved a little baby. I hope he's still around. Here's some more flowers from my garden. And then went back down to the lake and painted a loon and in the lily pads. My son David was here for a week before his wedding in June, and he's trying to learn how to do more traditional drawing. He knows how to do the drawing on the computer, and so he set up this still life of a whole bunch of stuff that Bob had in his office, and we worked on that. And here's July 4th this year, and I was cleaning, getting ready to go to Canada, and I painted the sunset from outside our porch. And here are the little candle that was on the tables at David and Olivia's wedding, and her mother was getting them all situated, and I did a lot of painting in her mother's house. Everybody was running around getting their fingernails done and their hair done, and so I got a chance to paint her garden and paint a few things. This beautiful flowers outside of my front room window, and I painted it. And I have pink ones too, stargazer lilies. I was over at my friend Nancy's house, and while we were talking, I painted this, whipped this out. It's just so beautiful to be able to look anywhere and see the trees and the lake. It's just, I so enjoy living here. And then here's Bob's view from his office, and these were the same flowers that I painted the last year. There were a lot of them this year. And here's Vincent van Gogh's anniversary of his death was this year, 125 years, so I painted some sunflowers just from my imagination. We went to Bay Beach on this day and took the grandkids and my daughter, and it was so crowded that our lake didn't get to ride very much. And then we took them to the Pizza Ranch for dinner. Then the next week I went down to Irish Fest, and I sat there, and I almost brought my fiddle, but I chickened out at the end, and I wish I would have, because I could have played some of the songs. Anyway, this is my rendition of the spirit of Irish Fest. And this one was very foggy on Saturday, just yesterday, and so you could hardly see the mountain, and I drew the picture of the apple and pear trees and the flower garden in front of the golf course. And these little geese come and they eat the apples that have fallen on the ground, and they were listening to other geese flying overhead, and then all of a sudden they're all gone, and they're gone today. I don't know. They just all left. And the last page of my book is I've been going to grief counseling, and my therapist said that every day that I do the things that I love, like my painting or playing music, I'm sending thank you cards to Bob for everything that he did to promote my my creative spirit, and I, would thank him every day, and I still tell him I love him. So I thought that this was a good way to end this book, and by putting that on there. And so that is it for this book, and I hope, I'm sorry it took so long. I blabber a lot. I'm Irish, what can I say? And and I encourage everyone to get a journal if you are interested in doing it, and go online and see journal flips, and go to check out Sketchbook School, and learn how to do it. And it's a lot. It's just a beautiful way to remember your life. And now what I'll do here is I'll use a white poster pen, and then I'll mark the dates that it started and ended, and then I put them all up on a shelf, and this one is going to be going up there next. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions about anything that I do, please ask that below, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye bye now.